N.O.R.E just confirmed a rumor. Hip-hop has been circling for years, and somehow managed to do it while insisting he'd never confirm anything. He told Jason Lee he has footage that settles the question people have been asking about Offset and Saweetie, then said the world is never going to see it. That's the whole setup. Not just the rumor itself, but a man going on a public platform, announcing that proof exists, choosing to bury it, and genuinely expecting people to respect him for that decision. The most frustrating part isn't even what he revealed. It's the way he revealed it, wrapped in this air of honor, while doing the exact thing. On April 15th, N.O.R.E appeared on the Jason Lee show and disclosed that he cut footage from a 2022 Drink Champs session with Quavo and Takeoff, a sit-down where he directly asked about the long-running allegation that Offset slept with Saweetie during his marriage to Cardi B.
By the way, you got the last interview with Takeoff.
That interview already carried significant weight before this conversation, given that it's now considered one of the long-running Takeoff's final recorded appearances before his death in November 2022. Adding N.O.R.E's revelation to that footage makes it an even more layered piece of history, a moment that contains a question, an answer, and a deliberate erasure. N.O.R.E didn't stumble into the topic accidentally. He went there on purpose, asked the question directly, received what he describes as a clear answer, and then made a conscious decision to cut the entire exchange before the episode ever aired. That is not an editorial oversight or a technical issue. That is a premeditated choice. And the fact that he's now sitting on Jason Lee's show in 2026, explaining that choice to a public audience, is its own kind of contradiction that nobody seems to have pointed out to him before he started talking. "I respected man code and took it out," he told Jason Lee. When Lee pushed him on whether he'd ever consider releasing the footage, even jokingly floating the scenario of Cardi B purchasing access to it, N.O.R.E didn't flinch. Right, because the most effective way to have someone's back is apparently to announce on a streamed platform that footage of them exists, that you personally witnessed what's on it, that it required deletion, and that it needed active protecting. That is not loyalty. That is a press release disguised as silence. There is a real distinction between what N.O.R.E literally said and what the full conversation communicated, and both deserve honest attention. He never said the words Offset cheated. He never described the specific content of the footage or detailed what Offset said on camera. What he confirmed is that he asked the question during that Quavo and Takeoff interview, that people from Offset's team were physically present in the room when the exchange happened, and that he made the deliberate call to scrub it from the episode before it went live. But the internal logic of his behavior collapses quickly under basic examination. If the footage showed Offset giving a flat, confident denial, a clear, "No, that never happened, and I'll say it on camera right now," there would be zero reason to cut it. That is the kind of clip you keep and broadcast. It shuts down a damaging rumor in real time, in Offset's own voice, on one of the most credible rap platforms in the genre. It would have been genuinely good content for Drink Champs. Nobody in the history of media has ever edited out a clean exoneration to protect the person being exonerated. The fact that N.O.R.E pulled it, treats it as something fragile, describes it as requiring protection even years later, and is now openly referencing its existence on someone else's show. That is the answer, even without the tape itself. People online picked up on this immediately, and the logic spread fast. One comment that circulated widely put it directly: if he didn't do it, you wouldn't be taking clips out and keeping a secret. You basically just told us what we want to know. That is not a conspiracy reading. That is just following what the behavior itself suggests. The Offset Saweetie rumor has been alive and circulating since 2021. When Quavo and Saweetie ended their relationship, both sides made cheating allegations against each other, and Offset's name entered the conversation almost immediately. The timing made the connection easy to draw. Their breakup happened right around the Culture 3 rollout, a period when all three Migos members were working in close proximity, and the group was already showing signs of internal fracture. Fans connected Quavo's accusations, the album rollout window, and Offset's known proximity to Saweetie during that period, and the rumor took root across social media and hip-hop forums almost overnight. Cardi was not a passive observer. She reportedly had genuine suspicions about the Saweetie connection during that stretch, and those suspicions became one of the contributing factors in their 2024 split. That detail carries real weight. This was not background noise she scrolled past. It was something she took seriously enough that it actively eroded her marriage. A marriage with 2 children, years of public and private history, and repeated reconciliations behind it. Offset went on record about the rumor during an interview with Keke Palmer, delivering a direct denial. "No man, it was a rumor, man. And I feel like it was something deeper than that for the split of me and bro. I don't really want to touch on it, but it's something deeper than that. I think people was trying to tear my situation down in that situation. He didn't just deny it. He built a counter-narrative around it, framing the entire rumor as a manufactured attack designed to damage his personal relationships from the outside. That's a very specific claim. It requires the existence of bad actors who deliberately planted or amplified the story to destroy his life, and it stands in direct conflict with what N.O.R.E's behavior now suggests. Because N.O.R.E's footage, whatever is actually on it, was compelling enough to require cutting, and Offset has no clean path to addressing N.O.R.E's disclosure without either drawing more public attention to the tape or directly challenging someone who has already shown, on camera, that he will discuss private conversations whenever a microphone is in front of him. Cardi's own comments have added layers to this at multiple points. In a 2025 Breakfast Club interview, she spoke about a close former friend who betrayed her trust, someone who had gifted her flowers, someone she genuinely cared about, who later slept with Offset.
No, it's not.
No?
No, it's not peaceful at all.
I was going to ask if the album helped, but no, it's not
No.
peaceful.
Her audience filled in that blank before the interview was over, and the overwhelming consensus was Saweetie. Cardi's decision to keep it vague was clearly deliberate. She has a massive platform and a well-documented willingness to say exactly what she means when she wants to. The vague framing was a tactical choice, pointed enough to land, careful enough to avoid a direct confrontation she'd have to sustain. Saweetie's response across all of this has been total silence, not just in the days following N.O.R.E's Jason Lee appearance, but across the entire arc of this situation. Through the original 2021 breakup allegations, through Cardi's Breakfast Club interview, through every wave of renewed speculation, no statement, no denial, no carefully worded post. That silence has stretched long enough that it functions as its own kind of response. Someone falsely accused of sleeping with a married man. Someone whose name gets reattached to the same allegation repeatedly across multiple years, typically says something eventually. People in entertainment fight back against false narratives all the time, especially when those narratives are this persistent and this damaging. The fact that Saweetie hasn't engaged across multiple openings and multiple cycles of this story either means she's calculated that any response just feeds it further, or there is genuinely nothing she can say that improves her position. Either reading lands in uncomfortable territory for her. Social media's reaction to N.O.R.E's interview broke in 2 clear directions. A portion of the commentary went at Saweetie directly. A significant amount pointed straight at N.O.R.E, specifically for the contradiction of publicly announcing a secret while claiming to protect it. Cardi's fanbase cataloged every moment in the interview where N.O.R.E appeared to confirm exactly what he said he was guarding. The pushback wasn't just emotional, it was analytical, and it was pointed. The deeper criticism of N.O.R.E goes beyond this single situation and touches his entire platform. Drink Champs built its brand on being the space where people actually talk. Unfiltered, candid, away from publicists and press releases. That is what he sells. So when N.O.R.E admits he has edited out a moment of truth to protect someone's image, the question it raises isn't just about this clip, it's about the integrity of the show itself. How much of what audiences believe they're getting, the raw, real conversations, has been shaped or trimmed before it reaches them. The leverage angle makes the whole thing worse. Jason Lee noted during the conversation that N.O.R.E had reached out to him previously and indicated that if Offset kept creating public noise, he might release the footage. That is not keeping a secret. That is using a deleted clip as a pressure mechanism. The man code framing does not accommodate threatening someone with footage as a behavior management tool. Those 2 positions cannot coexist honestly, and N.O.R.E seemed genuinely unbothered by the contradiction as he walked Jason Lee through the details. No one in the broader industry is going to voluntarily step into this story publicly, but the informal understanding in hip-hop, and specifically in Atlanta, has been readable for years. The general alignment in that world placed most people in Quavo's corner after the Migos dissolved, and Offset has operated distinctly outside that social structure since. if the Saweetie situation contributed to that fracture in any meaningful way, if it damaged Quavo's relationship or accelerated the tensions that were already pulling the group apart. That damage does not get undone. It sits there permanently, and it would explain a lot about why Offset's relationships across that entire era. Quavo hasn't commented. That is entirely consistent with how he has operated publicly since Takeoff's death. Forward-facing, visibly uninterested in relitigating old wounds for someone else's content cycle. That consistency communicates something on its own. Offset is in an impossible spot. The denial is on record. The counter-narrative framing the whole thing as an engineered attack is already established. Now N.O.R.E. has publicly told the world that whatever he captured on that tape was significant enough to require cutting, to be treated as needing protection. Offset cannot address that without amplifying the conversation or going directly at N.O.R.E., who has already demonstrated that he will describe private exchanges on a public platform. Jason Lee asked directly whether Cardi B could ever get access to the footage. N.O.R.E. said no. No pause. No qualification. That is the part of this that lingers. A woman whose marriage fractured under the weight of this specific rumor, who has 2 children with this man, who went on The Breakfast Club and described a betrayal that everyone understood as a direct reference to this situation. She does not get to know what N.O.R.E. knows. Because man code, that is the priority structure being applied here. Stated plainly and without apology, Offset's image outranks Cardi's access to clarity about her own marriage. N.O.R.E. said it without a trace of discomfort, and the full implication did not appear to land on him in the moment. What this entire situation exposes is the way men in this industry protect each other, and who consistently absorbs the cost of that protection. Cardi spent years managing the weight of suspicions about something that, based entirely on N.O.R.E.'s own behavior, appears to have had real substance. Saweetie has carried the allegation without resolution for the better part of half a decade. Quavo lost his relationship during that period. And N.O.R.E. is on Jason Lee's platform in 2026, describing how honorable he's being for keeping a secret he is actively walking the public through in detail. He has been clear that no financial offer changes his position on releasing the footage. So this is where it lands. N.O.R.E. cut something significant, announced that he cut it, explained the reasoning behind cutting it, confirmed on record that it exists, and is now waiting for credit for his restraint. The tape stays locked. The story is fully out in the open, because he is the one who opened it. Saying you are keeping a secret while describing the secret is not keeping the secret. And the sustained public commentary about what he refuses to release has almost certainly done more lasting damage to Offset's reputation than the footage itself ever would have. If Offset genuinely wanted this conversation to stop, N.O.R.E. sitting down with Jason Lee and walking through all of it was the worst possible outcome, and the one thing no amount of man code is going to walk back.